Today we're going to talk about how to plant a tomato. First thing we do is prepare the soil. We're working with a nice potting soil. It's been out here for a few years. We've added some compost and things like that to keep it fresh. And before I plant, I mixed in some of this Happy Frog Jumpstart fertilizer. It's a little bit higher in phosphorus, help these guys get their roots going. And it's got mycorrhiza and some other ones that are also good for the roots. Keep some active soil microbes in the soil. Nice thing about using an organic fertilizer, it's a lot harder to overdo it and burn your roots. Synthetic fertilizers can burn your roots. They're all right to use, but you got to be real careful with them. We like to go with the organic because they're a whole lot easier to use, and who doesn't like organic food? Next thing we're going to do is talk about choosing a tomato plant. I like to use tomatoes that have already been started. So we've got a bunch here that we got here at the nursery. I like to pick out plants that have a nice long stem because tomatoes can be planted very, very deep. They're about the only vegetable you can do this with, but you can actually bury a whole lot of the stem. And everywhere here along the stem where there are these little hairy, like fine hairs coming off, those can all turn into roots once they're buried in the ground. See if we can get that to focus up. Anyway, you can, there's the little hairs there. So what we're going to do is pick one that's got a lot of stem that we can get underground so that that root system goes going really fast. Even though we're sort of shrinking our plant by burying it really deep, that big root system will be able to take off very quickly once it gets established, and you'll have a much stronger plant than if we just planted it at the soil surface right here. The variety we're planting today is Sun Gold tomato. Nice yellow cherry tomato, very sweet, really, really strong plant. Heavy producer, nice thin skin, and produces all season long. To prepare the plant for planting nice and deep, the first thing we want to do is remove all of these extra leaves down low that'll end up getting buried underground. We don't want to bury the leaves, we just want to bury stems, so we're going to take all these leaves off. Just a nice sharp blade can remove them real nice and easy. And we're going to get these all cleared up here. Now you can see I've removed all of those lower leaves and stems. Missed one there. Get that little guy off of there. So now we've got a nice big long trunk to work with. There's all my excess leaves. I'm just going to toss those in the compost pile. Now as you can see, I've dug a nice deep hole here. This plant sits well down in the hole. We're looking way down in there. I mean, that's up to my elbow. So nice and deep. And now we want to get the plant out of the pot and ready to put in the ground. Alright, so we're going to take this guy and we're going to real gently slide him out of the pot. We don't want to yank on the stem too hard, risk any damage there, and we want to kind of support the weight of the roots so that we're not worrying about breaking the stem. It's pretty thin here. That's alright because we're going to be putting him down in the hole. But what we want to do is just really gently kind of tease the roots out a little bit. Help them break out of that circular pattern that they're in from the pot so that they can go forth and multiply down here in the ground. And then we're just going to slip them right down there in the soil. So now we've got this all the way up here. Alright, plant is in the ground. Now we're going to fill the soil in around it. So we're just going to take and sort of scoop this around. So that, let's see if we can get a shot down there in the hole. Looking right down the stem. I'm just going to let that soil fall in around the root ball there, kind of collapse the hole around the stem. Nice and well supported. We're gonna push this soil down. We don't want to compact it, but we want to make sure that it's not going to keep sinking after we're done. So we're just going to kind of use our fingertips and push it down in here gently. We don't need it hard compacted. Some plants do have flowers on them already. I recommend taking those flowers off, like so. Those flowers, if they start producing fruit when the plant hasn't got a good root base underneath it, is going to stunt the whole plant. So we want to make sure that we're giving the roots a good chance to get established before we worry about getting fruit on there. And there you go. We got ourselves a nice little tomato in the ground, planted nice and deep so it'll root out really well. It's a good idea once you've got everything planted to go back and make sure you don't have any leaves that are resting on the ground or that are too big so that they're touching the ground. when they're touching the ground, that's when you really start running the risk of getting fungus problems, disease problems, and stuff like that. In this case, I don't want to take this entire leaf off right here, this guy right here, a little bigger than what I feel good removing, so I'm just going to shorten him up right there, keep those leaves up off the ground and not remove too much leaf from the plant. When they're this small, you don't want to go taking everything it's got.